So welcome everybody and to the 2020 Hack4NF first Children's Tumor Foundation virtual hackathon. So thank you for being here. As I said before, we have closed captions for the meeting. So use the button on the bottom of the bar so you can activate closed caption if you need them. And use the speaker view in your webinar Zoom so that you can maximize the information that are on screen. What I'll do today is talk you from here. I will not share my screen because information that I need to show you are already superimposed on my view. So without further ado, let's go. We have a packed agenda. We'll start with an intro. We'll have some guest speaker, and then throughout the day we'll have also mission moments. We have 3 amazing stories that we want to share with you. And Barb is gonna help me in co-hosting and presenting the stories. Then we'll have guest speakers, but we also look at the overall program for the hackathon, recommendations, what's coming up, our sponsors, what kind of resources you have available for today. And we'll move also with a testimonial from last year hackathon that, winner that will share his view and recommendation and advice. So a lot of information and content. I hope you'll enjoy. So let's start and go. First of all, I want to introduce myself. As you see here, I'm Salvatore La Rosa. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer, and the person I want to introduce to is my partner in crime, Barb Gallagher. She's been amazing to set up this event with me, working tirelessly with sending emails, preparing agenda, calls, emails, all of that stuff. So Barb, thank you so much for help in this. You want to say something? Just.
Well, you're welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure, and this is such an exciting event. And thank you all for joining from around the world. And we're just really, really excited to kick this off. So thank you all for your time and your support today.
Great. Okay, so let's move into what is NF. And I know you guys may have heard about NF. You already know that you're participating to this hackathon, and you probably Google it if you knew nothing about NF, but we don't have the time this morning to give you a comprehensive presentation. But what I want to give you is just the highlight and the information and resources for you to go back and learn more about NF, about the disease, what are the issues, what our patients are experiencing, how you can actually make a difference during this hackathon. So NF stands for neurofibromatosis. It's a genetic disorder that causes tumors to grow on nerves throughout the body. There are 3 main terms for NF, NF1, NF2, and schwannomatosis. We are in the middle of redefining this with maybe some change name and stuff, but I mean, this has been, and it is the definition, and it's a rare disease, even though it affects 1 every 3,000 people worldwide. So it's not that rare. It's a pretty common genetic condition. And then due to that, you can put that into perspective and think that 100 kids are born every year with NF. So there is really an urgency. And the penetrance of the disease is really, really high. So think that 95% of patients will develop tumors during their lifetime. And that could be a cutaneous neurofibroma, a plexiform, a glioma, or a myriad of different complications that NF has. As a result, being NF, the gene that NF is disrupting, there are tumor suppressor genes. Basically, this influence also the predisposition to regular and normal cancer. So our population, apart from all of the problems that are coming from NF, they have 2 times predisposition for normal cancer. And this connection between cancer and NF is really helping both fields. So NF research, what we've been funding for many years, is helping cancer research because the molecular pathways are connected, very deeply connected. And cancer research is helping NF. In fact, you know, if you think about the first drug approved that we had this year, thank you to AstraZeneca and Kuzelugo, is a drug that was designed for lung cancer. So has been approved for NF in the first treatment for NF1. So there is a very strict connection. So as I said before, we don't have time to go into the very specific, but I highly recommend that you go through some of the resources that I put on the platform. So if you see here, I put a very nice review, very recently written in 2020, that talks about and introduce all of the 3 conditions. So refer back to the resource tab on the platform for a good review. I'm gonna put more article there, more articles, so that you can go back and read. It's a quick read, but it will, if you never heard about NF, you still want to know a little bit more, highly recommend you go deep into these resources. And you know, the second step that I want to do is presenting our sponsors, acknowledging them. Without them, this would not happen. And first of all, I would like to thank our presenting sponsors. Salesforce is the #1 customer relationship management platform and unites your marketing, sales, commerce, service, IT teams from anywhere with Customer 360. So Salesforce is an integrated CRM platform that powers an entire suite of connected apps. And then we have our second presenting sponsor, Graphpad Prism, is the leading data analysis and visualization software for the global life science industry. So more than 1 million global life science researchers, from students to Nobel Prize winners, rely on Prism to simplify statistics and accurately analyze and visualize their research. So thank you so much to our sponsor. Cool things coming. I will announce later additional resources that are available from our sponsors. And then the second screen is for all our other sponsors and data providers, starting from the Neurofibromatosis Therapeutic Acceleration Program, the Gilbert Family Foundation, AstraZeneca, Sorexis, the Resi Digital Conference, DNA Nexus, Elsevier, Arcturus, Sage Bionetwork, Helix, Genuity Science, Bushi Aptech, the Dana-Farber Harvard Cancer Center that is providing us with an incredible data set on imaging, the CBTTC, the NF registry that is sharing data from our patients population as well, and the NF data portal, of course, as a main source for data, and DNF Open Science Initiative. And then last but not least, our community partners that helped with resources, mentors, providing judges, and spreading the word for recruitment. Our friends at the Childhood Cancer Data Lab, sponsored by Alex Stan's Lemonade, the Weill Cornell Medicine, Women Who Code, HackGT, the New York Genome Center, Design Lab, Metis, and COVID Global Hackathon 2.0. Thank you for your support. So, and as I said before, what I want to highlight are special resources. So Graphpad, our presenting sponsors, is giving out free software licenses for Prism, Genius, and SnapGene. So go to our platform, link to the resource tab, you'll find 3 specific links that will allow you to download free licenses. You have the opportunity to work for 3 months with this software for free, and you can use it throughout the hackathon to present your data, but also to work with genomic data and use SnapGene for your core molecular biology procedure, if you have any. So plan, visualize, document. They're really, really cool software. They are the standard of the field, so please use it. Resi Digital, connected to our incubator, will give us the opportunity to pitch investors. So think about the incubator at the end of the hackathon. If you are the winner, or if you are allowed to enter in the incubator, you will also be provided with a pass for the Resi Digital conference, allowed to present during that conference and pitch investors. If you want to, for instance, additional resources, or you think about a company, you want to create a startup or something. DNA Nexus, shout out to them. providing us with cloud computing credits. More to come. Ben Busby is the man that is gonna kick off our Check-in Friday. So next Friday, there's gonna be a workshop about how to use DNA Nexus and cloud computer credits. They're also providing us with support for workflow development, so for your genomic data analysis. And Arcturus, a UK-based company that is providing wet lab experiments for target and drug validation. So this is really cool. If you identify a drug, if you identify a target with your analysis, we are partnering with Arcturus, and they will set up those experiments for you and will give that extra layer to, you know, validate your hypothesis. So these are really, really cool resources that are available for you. So please use them. And now our first speaker, special welcome from Annette Bakker, the president of the Children's Tumor Foundation. So Annette, I know you have a short presentation, so share your screen and welcome.
What if I would unmute? Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm super excited to be here. This is a big milestone again in our NF revolution. So I just wanted to give you a quick thing of what CTF is, and then I let you dive into your favorite job. Let's hack NF and let's end this thing. So I think just quickly, who we are a global nonprofit focused on accelerating treatments for NF patients. Our global mission is, like every foundation has this mission, drive research, expand knowledge and advance care for the NF community. But our real vision and our dream and our project is to end NF. What is our strategy? Our strategy is in fact very simple. And I found this on the internet and I thought this is exactly what CTF is doing. We're connecting the head and the heart to get to the results. The head part is in 3 lines. We're investing in research, not to write publications, but to write publications too, but mainly to ensure that the discoveries are actually leading to better treatments, which sounds logic, but it's often not happening. And the third characteristic of what we're doing is that we're not doing things for the patients, we're doing them with the patients. And the hard part is an image speaks more than a million words. This picture is, I think, saying who we are and what our community is: vibrant, energetic, impatient to end NF. And then if you look at the results, here we are. This year is, I think, a year of first evers. Although it's kind of a tough COVID year, but if you look at what the NF community has done, I always say has been unstoppable through this period. We got Koselugo, which is a MEK inhibitor from AstraZeneca, approved in the US in April, submitted in Europe. We have new drugs for NF2. We have the first NF2 platform trial that is in place and is enrolling patients already in Boston. We have helped spin out a company from Pfizer called SpringWorks, and we have also now the first cream trial for cutaneous NF. So just to give you a quick, again, I'm a picture person, just to give you a quick idea of what we're actually doing to make all these things happening. So as I told you, we're interested in catalyzing new discoveries and making sure that they translate into better treatments. How do we do that? On the discovery side, we have 2 main initiatives: the Discovery Fund and the Synodos model. Very easy. Discovery Fund is a competitive fund. Synodos are Olympic teams that have to solve big problems that our patients think are really crucial. Then we have a whole enabling platform. And as you can see, the Data Hub was something that we kicked off in 2014. And I always told Salvo that at that time, we were a little bit the salmons that were swimming up the river. And now since COVID, it seems to be everybody is sharing data, which in 2014 was not really the case. We've done a lot of other things. When I go to pharmaceutical companies, I always say CTF has set the table. You can just come for dinner, but bring your drugs. The next thing we do is we are working with the patients to make sure that the regulators understand what it is actually that these patients are living with. So it's a people connector, right? And that is why we are so much connecting the head and the heart, because it is really, if people understand what NF patients are struggling with, they will read the documentation, still scientifically rigorous, obviously, but they will read it with more attention and more inpatient to get treatments to our patients. And then we are that people connector. I always say we're also match.com if it helps. But sometimes I'm also really a fly on your screen if things don't work the way they need to work. When it comes to NF, why do we do this hackathon? Well, look at the publications. Cystic fibrosis and Huntington, although much less prevalent than NF, if you look at the number, and I'm just looking at the number of researchers as an indicator a little bit to the number of publications that are a little bit an indicator for the number of researchers that are working in the field, we have work. And that is what we need to do now. We have been collecting data for 6 years, and we've always had that dream that one day we want to do a hackathon because we want to explode this field. We want engineers, NASA, people that have never heard of NF that now suddenly start joining this cool community of data scientists. So what we want from you, it's very easy. Just bring us new ideas, bring us innovation, and join the revolution of NF. So I wish you good luck. And let me come back to my favorite slide. We can end NF. We will end NF. So thank you so much. Good luck. And please bring us your best thoughts.
Okay, thank you so much, Annette. I think we are now ready to move to our first mission moment, and I'll give it to Barb, and our first guests are Lauren, Patrick, and Lily Childers. Beautiful story. We'll play a video and then we'll talk with them. To you, Barb.
All right.
My name's Lily.
And I'm Lauren.
And I'm Patrick.
And we just wanted to share with you Lily's story today.
Yeah, so Lily is 4.5 years old, and we first met her when she was about 6 months old in China. I was working for a nonprofit here in the U.S., connecting doctors and specialists here in the U.S. with orphans and underserved kids overseas, trying to facilitate some consults for their care. When they reached out to us about Lily, they knew she had a tumor. It was growing pretty fast at the time, and they weren't sure what the correct treatment was.
And so through that interaction, we were actually able to adopt Lily in 2017. We went directly to Seattle Children's to talk to the team there about a debulking surgery. And it was risky. It was surgery. There would be a long recovery process, and the debulking surgery would need to be repeated several times through childhood and as a young woman. So we were really excited to learn that targeted chemotherapy was an option for Lily, and that actually began the next fall in 2018. We were able to get her on a daily chemo dose. In June of last year, through her routine imaging, we found out that she actually had moya moya, which is a disorder of the arteries in the brain. And she would need not one, but 2 brain surgeries last summer and fall. Between them, she actually did suffer a stroke due to that moya moya. And so last year we spent a little over 5 weeks in the hospital with her at various times. And now the surgeries were a success, and she's been able to start her chemo again. And then we were actually started a new chemo. Lily, would you like to tell them about your chemo? You're on Cuseligo.
Mom, I'm taking one all by myself.
Yes, you do. You take your pills all by yourself. Do you swallow them?
Yeah.
Is it hard?
No.
No. How many do you take in the morning?
1 or 2 or 3 or 4.
No, you just take 2 in the morning and 1 at night. And you can't eat afterwards. That's the hardest part, right? And we're really glad that this Cuseligo medication, the side effects are very mild, and so Lily's able to do everything normal kids are able to do. You started preschool this year, right?
Oh, I'm sick, Mama.
Yeah, you're having so much fun in preschool.
I'm so sick, Mama.
You're so strong.
I'm
How many older sisters do you have?
Gigi.
Gigi and
Mommy.
Molly
Maggie.
And
Mama.
no, Mama's not a sister. You have 4 older sisters that you play with, and you're just like, you know, a regular little kid. And so it's just been really exciting to see her. It's exciting to have some opportunities for the future as we look towards NF and care, and we just know that it's just going to look completely different as she grows and changes. We're excited to see what NF looks like in her future. And good luck.
I'll see you next time.
So thank you so much, Patrick and Lauren and Lily, for sharing your story. And I just wanted to introduce you guys, and Patrick's actually participating in the hackathon. So why don't you share a little bit more briefly about why you guys are here, and I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Patrick. I have a technology background. My wife and I, Lauren, actually owned a technology company where we did mobile apps. We've done a couple hackathons, and so this kind of seemed like the perfect
Conjunction.
yeah, just the perfect hackathon to be a part of and see what we can do. So
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you guys so much for being involved, and thank you, Lily. Thank you for sharing your story today.
Thanks.
Amazing.
All right. No, great. All right. Well, thanks, guys, and we look forward to seeing all you're able to accomplish in the hackathon. And I'm going to turn it back over to Salvo.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Lauren. Lily, you're amazing. Every time I watch this video, I just smile. I cannot stop it. I mean, it's amazing. So thank you so much for being here. And we need people like you with your background to help, every little help. So we moving on, and another exciting speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Rob Braining from Genuity Science. Rob is the CEO at Genuity Science, but also board member at CTF. He's been involved so much through the years with us. He was actually vice president and general manager of life science and applied genomics at Illumina before he actually joined Bushi Next Code, that changed name and became Genuity Science. So he has a lot of experience in this world, in this sector, and I'm so delighted that he agreed to give us a little talk about what he thinks about this hackathon, why it really matters, what is in the pipeline for the future, looking at how the genomics and the big challenges of genomics are moving forward at light speed. So thank you, Rob, for being with us. Please share your screen and off you go. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Salvo. And I've got to learn how you do that cool like in-screen thing. I thought I had all the Zoom tricks down after 6 months of quarantine, but you've taught me a new one, so I appreciate that. Thank you all for being here this morning. As Salvo mentioned, I'm here really in 3 contexts, all of which are relevant both to the hackathon and to this discussion. I'm the CEO of a company called Genuity Science. I'll explain a little bit more about what we do along the way, but we're really focused on taking genomic data and insights and using those to improve healthcare. I mean, that's why we exist. I'm also a board member of the Children's Tumor Foundation and the proud father of Ellie, my 11-year-old daughter. I also have an older set of boy-girl twins that just turned 16 yesterday. And I don't think it's just the proud father in me that says she looks great here. But the reality is there have been many times over the past 6 years, we weren't sure if she'd still be with us today. And one of those times was here. Just like the Childress family, we all have pictures like this because NF is a deadly disease. And in my daughter's case, it's NF2. That picture, I'm going to leave it on this one because I like this picture better. The others are reality as well, but you know, let's look at this one. That was after a craniotomy, one of 3 that she's had in the past 6 years. She's also had 5 other surgeries, major surgeries, plus dozens of other procedures. She's had 2 rounds of proton radiation, more than 30 sessions per each round. And literally we've lost track of the number of doctor appointments she's had. It's in the hundreds. And each one of those appointments will seemingly minor on its own as time away from school, from family, from friends. And so it's heart-wrenching as a father. And it's part of the reason I'm in the life sciences industry to begin with, is to make a difference in this. So I could go through, as the children's can do, and the other mission moments. She's blind in one eye, deaf in one ear, has a paralyzed vocal cord. She's also had some strokes because of compromised blood flow to the brain. She takes daily shots to compensate for a radiated pituitary gland, and she is also on an oral chemotherapeutic at the moment. MRIs and MRAs every 3 months. And yet, if she were on the Zoom call right now, she would be the most positive person who, like, even as I'm getting emotional about this, she'd be the one cheering everyone up and really highlighting how great life is, despite her challenges. Her future is uncertain. And the reality is, for all families on rare disease journeys, the future is uncertain. And I heard a great analogy recently. Somebody was using it in the context of COVID, but it really resonated to me thinking about what it's like to be a parent in a rare disease universe. And it was that of a lantern. Because when you are part of a rare disease journey, life is uncertain. You can't see that far into the future. But much like if you're going on a hike late at night on a camp out, you've got a lantern that you can hold up and you can see 3 or 4 steps in front of you. You may not know what's further down the trail, but you know what's right in front of you, and you can see that. And what do? You use that lantern, you take your next 2, 3, 4 steps, and then the light shines a little further ahead, and you keep moving on. And ultimately, you get to the end of the trail and through the hike. And it really resonated with me because that's what we do. We don't know what the future holds, but I will say on a day like today, my lantern is shining a lot brighter because of events like this that really give me confidence that I can see further ahead and there's good things there. And it's in part because of this hackathon. It's also in part because of groups like the Children's Tumor Foundation. Because the world of genomic medicine and omic medicine more broadly, we talk about genomics, DNA, but it's really all of the omics, DNA, RNA, epigenomics, which is really how environmental factors can modulate the genome, is changing things. And there's a lot of factors coming together right now, all at once, that is making this possible. And it really relates to the work that foundations like CTF are doing, that clinicians are doing. The industry is advancing in amazing ways, and I'll talk about that a bit. But what's really making all of this happen is we're learning more, we're applying things in healthcare and research, and then learning more. It's a continuous data loop where more and more data is being built and applied, which is creating larger and larger data sets that are then driving more insights. And so if you think about what's happening in the world today, how genomics is applying in healthcare today in the clinic, it's advancing radically. If you go back 20 years, there were exactly 0 human whole genomes that had been sequenced, right? We were in the middle as a scientific community in the middle of the Human Genome Project, but it wasn't until 2003 that the first human genome was actually sequenced. Now, in the cases of oncology, not only can we profile a tumor molecularly to really understand what are the genes that are being mutated, but we can actually at times prescribe targeted therapies to those mutations, because in oncology, drugs have been targeted to specific mutations. We're also really learning how to harness the human immune system with immuno-oncology to try to have our own natural body defenses identify, target, and either stabilize, shrink, or even completely eliminate tumors in the body. It's amazing. There's changes happening in liquid biopsy. If you think about what a liquid biopsy is, basically it's taking human blood and trying to look for something in that sample. In this case, it's tumor DNA. where the tumor, the cells either die off or slough off the tumor, and you can, in the human bloodstream, identify if somebody is developing cancer. It's amazing technology, and just to give a perspective of it, there's a few companies out there doing this today. One of them, Grail, was just announced earlier this week that Illumina is going to acquire them for $8 billion on the back of this technology. It's not deeply in the clinic yet, but it's on its way. And what is in the clinic is non-invasive prenatal testing, where companies and healthcare workers are using the mother's DNA to try to identify chromosomal abnormalities in the fetus. And let's just for a minute pause and think about what we have historically done to do that. We've stuck a needle into a pregnant woman's belly to try to derive a sample of how we can get some of that fetal DNA. So this is a massive advance in terms of being able to apply the technologies that are coming to improve healthcare. In rare disease, the ability to help patients shorten the diagnostic odyssey by using whole genome sequencing or exome sequencing or even gene panels to understand what is happening has made the journey for a lot of families a lot shorter. And in some cases, there are even therapeutics. And I'll talk about some of those in a bit. We've already heard about one today. But even when you don't have a therapeutic, just knowing what the disease is can help you understand what treatments not to do, and which can actually save countless hours and procedures for a family, as well as enable healthcare to be better overall. And of course, in the advancing field of pharmacogenomics, which is when you take the individual's genome and applying it to drugs you would prescribe for them or things you would do. Classic examples of this are things like warfarin, the blood thinner, where depending on the enzymes that are in your liver can affect your ability to metabolize that drug. And in cases, if you have over metabolism of that drug, it can break down so quickly it's not effective. In other cases, if you can't break down the drug, it may build up and become toxic. So it's really important to understand how the individual is going to, how that drug will affect the individual based on their own genome and not just one size fits all medicine. And so the more these are being applied, the more data sets are being built and the more analysis can happen. And so this is what is enabling very specific therapeutics. We heard earlier about Koselugo. I'm still learning how to pronounce that. It's a new name. But the first one of these was in 2012, 2013, when Vertex came out with Kalydeco, which for CF. And it's interesting because when it first came out, people said, well, what's the big deal? It works on 4% of people. We really haven't cured CF. And I think that's the wrong way to think about it, because what you've done for 4% of a patient group, for 1,200 people in the US, you've largely taken away what was basically gonna cause their death in a young adulthood. So this has been a highly effective drug. And it takes me back to the analogy, if you've ever heard the story about the starfish on the ocean, and this guy's walking down the beach, and thousands of starfish have washed up on the shore, and this one guy's throwing them back one at a time. And of course, there's no way he can get all of them. Another guy comes by and says, why are you bothering to do that? There's no way you can save all of these starfish. And he just looks at him and says, well, I may not be able to save them all, but it matters to this one, to this one, and to this one. And so if we can really understand diseases at the molecular level and understand the biology behind them, we can develop therapeutics that will help that subsegment of patient population. And Kalydeco is a great first example of that, because the alternative is to do what we've historically done as a society. We're all familiar with the disease Parkinson's disease, but have you ever stopped to think about why it's called Parkinson's disease? It's called it because in 1817, Dr. James Parkinson's wrote about this palsy disease, and that is what made it Parkinson's disease. Here it is 200 years later, and we're still calling it Parkinson's disease, when in reality, there are submolecular diseases at play here. And so doctors, because they historically haven't known, they used trial and error medicine. And so what we're learning now is that there's specific genes involved in Parkinson's, LRRK2, GBA, or just some of the names of these. And so what's happening now is therapeutic companies are working on drugs that are specific to these different molecular subtypes of the disease. And it's the early results of those are very promising and can give clinicians the tools that they need to be able to be more precise in how they're engaging with their patient population. But it's not just the CF Foundation. We heard already today about Koselugo in NF1. And if you look at the pictures of the kids on this page, you can see the difference and imagine the impact on their lives, both from a medical perspective, but also from a social perspective, that we're able to address these tumors because of the great work of not only foundations like the Children's Tumor Foundation, but the clinicians that they work with and the researchers that are actually providing the knowledge that we need to be able to improve patient outcomes. So that's why my lantern is shining brighter, because things are coming together right now in a way that is amazing and special and driving an inflection point. You know, if you think back to 2000, there are no whole human genome sequences done. That's now in the millions. No drugs that were specific for rare disease based on molecular subtype started in 2012, 2013. Now we're seeing it in NF as well. And not just NF. It's interesting, we talk about, Salvo mentioned that, you know, there are name changes being contemplated. Well, why is that? Well, neurofibromatosis was a general characterization before we understood that there were different genes involved in different manifestations of the disease, which is why it's now NF1, NF2 schwannomatosis, and may potentially be subdivided or reclassified even further. But it's happening in NF2 as well, which gives me great hope for my own daughter, Ellie, who you met earlier, or at least saw the picture, in NF2. And I think I saw Dr. Jayshree Blakely on the call. If she is, I hope I picked a picture that's suitable. I just scrubbed the web, hope that's okay. She and Dr. Scott Plotkin from MGH, Dr. Blakely is from Johns Hopkins University, have partnered together with many others, many other sites for what is now called the Intuit trial, bringing together a number of different therapeutics to try, particularly around brigatinib, which is a compound from Takeda Pharmaceuticals that has some real promise. And Ellie's only 11. You need to be 12 to be in the trial, so she's not eligible yet, but I'm excited that things like this are coming. And it's clinicians like Dr. Blakely and Dr. Plotkin. I think I saw Dr. Marco Giovannini on the call as well. I am so encouraged and grateful for the dedication that these clinician researchers have to bring things like this out. They as well are looking for tools that they can use with the patients that they have, because they see how devastating these diseases can be. My lantern shines brighter because, as I said before, it's about data. If we can get more data, analyze more data, some of you may have seen this chart. It's the cost to sequence a human genome. Actually, even though it says 2020, I think it's out of date because the cost is actually down to about $500 or $600 for a whole genome, which is actually creating a tsunami of data. There are 6 different projects in the world right now, 6 separate projects, each of which are looking to sequence over 1 million patients. So the data is coming, and genomics and research is becoming a big data problem. But there are tools to solve this, because along with the data comes advancements in the technology of data management. And I saw Ben Busby on the call from DNA Nexus. They're also a sponsor of this. They're involved in genomic data management. And what's happening all over are different places and ways to manage this data that's coming. The Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard with HAIL as a tool for genome analysis. This publication at the bottom from this summer was from Boston Children's Hospital, who's using one of, not as a commercial, but uses what's called GoreDB, which is something that was created out of Decode, which was the Icelandic genome program. It's what we use at Genuity Science as well to integrate health records, data capture, and genomic data to really put it in a database architecture that lets a researcher interrogate that data in a meaningful way. And all that data doesn't matter if you can't put it in a format that lets you interrogate it. And then the advances, and so as this data comes together and the tools to do it, it creates the opportunity to create larger and larger data sets. So this is one of the things that we're doing at Genuity Science, formerly known as Whooshie Code. We've rebranded this summer. In 2018, we acquired a company called Genomics Medicine Ireland and launched an ambitious project to sequence up to 10% of the Irish population. And what's key about this, and I'm using this one as an example because it's one I know well, but there's other examples of this as well, is we're not just going out and saying, let's just get 400,000 people and see what we can find and hope that there's something interesting that comes out of it. We're being very specific and targeted, looking across 60 diseases, 60, and working with clinician researchers in those diseases to be able to understand what are the things that are relevant. They're called phenotypes. You know, what are the things that are presented in patients that have relevance to this disease? And so in something like multiple sclerosis, it might be not only in a binary, does the patient have the disease or not, but do they have a severe form or a mild form? Is it a slow progressor or a rapid progressor? And then what we can do is look at a patient, I won't even necessarily say healthy, but a control population of just the general Irish population and compare that to a mild, slow progressing case to a severe, rapidly progressing case, and understand and tease out what are the differences of those. Again, across 3.1 billion base pairs in a human genome against 25,000 patients and all of their medical information. It is an astounding amount of data to try to derive some insights from. But if we can start to understand the molecular underpinnings of all these diseases, which then can enable therapeutics to be developed that really target, we heard the term before, the molecular pathways that are involved in these diseases. And that's the other thing that makes my lantern shine brighter is the advancements in data science. And it's a lot of the reasons that you are on this call. The number of computational biologists on this call inspires me. Because what's starting to happen, and again, I'm using Genuity Science examples because they're the ones I know best, but these are not the only ones out there, right? This is happening all across academia, industry, government. We're starting to understand using advanced data science techniques, AI, machine learning, neural networks. There's many different tools involved here to be able to understand from a causal dependency what is happening. It's not just a correlation of let me put a bunch of data and see what happens to be coming together, but rather a causal dependency. Where in this specific example, some work was done between our AI research lab and Yale University to understand the drivers of aortic aneurysm. And in mice, with this information, they could actually trigger an aortic aneurysm. They could actually toggle it almost and have it to the cusp of about to happen, getting all those biomarkers to start to show, and then dial it back to prevent it from happening, which says that they've identified what is happening in these molecular pathways, which now gives an amazing set of targets for a therapeutic company to go after to prevent these from happening in the first place. It's inspiring. I'm getting chills just because it's so cool. What they can do, even if I have to be perfectly honest, I don't always understand exactly what my AI research team is doing. But it's really cool. And the coming together of data science and molecular biology knowledge is what is enabling this to happen. And it makes my lantern shine brighter in terms of seeing a brighter future ahead for Ellie. But what makes my lantern shine the brightest, it may not be clear, this is a mirror. Is those of you on the Zoom call, hopefully imagine yourself or put your little Zoom picture in there because you make my lantern shine brighter. The fact that you're here, the fact that you're taking your time to apply to the problems that we're trying to solve, I'm filled with gratitude and thanks for your engagement on this. This isn't about me, this is about Ellie, this is about the millions of kids out there that are facing these challenges that you heard a story about earlier. I shared some of our family's challenges. this is all about people. It's cool data. I mean, I get jazzed from a societal perspective and an industry perspective with all of these factors and forces coming together, the foundations, the clinician researchers, the advances in sequencing technology, data management, data science, but none of it, it's cool, but none of it matters unless we're helping people in the end. And it's people like Ellie that I want to help, as well as the millions of other kids out there. So let me just say thank you. I need you, Ellie needs you, kids out there with NF need you. And so thank you for being a part of this. Can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rob. This was amazing. Thank you for sharing your story, telling us a lot of, I think, hints also for our participants. I think, you know, your talk has a lot of insights of how you can actually use this data that we are providing, and trying to find new signals in this data, and trying to, you know, these wild algorithms. That's where it's you know, different approaches that everybody can make their own interpretation, and at the end what really counts is the results, if something works or not. And we need to have multiple horses to bet on. So I could not be more energized by this. So thank you so much for sharing the story. And now we're moving quickly towards another mission moment. And this time, let me see if I can share my next slide here. As Michelle Holberg will play a video back to Barb, and then we'll have a quick word with Michelle. We'll learn more about her. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Holberg, and I'm here to support the Children's Tumor Foundation. I have neurofibromatosis, and the form that I have is schwannomatosis. I was diagnosed at the age of 25 after my son was born, and I am now the age of 54. I live with this condition every single day of my life, and I continue to fight hard for the Children's Tumor Foundation. I have probably had, since the age of 25, when I was first diagnosed, about 8 or 9 surgeries, as well as radiation to help cure this condition. I live in excruciating pain every day of my life. I might not look like it on the outside because I do work out and I am an avid runner and I try to stay healthy, but on the inside, I am in some excruciating pain at times. I am here to speak with you regarding NF to help our children and to help our grandchildren, to help us find a cure for this condition, because it is unfortunately a horrendous condition. And if we don't find a cure for it, then as I said, our children and grandchildren are going to continue to live with this and suffer as hard as some of us do at an older age. It does seem like the older that I get, the more tumors that show up in parts of my body. Just this last year, I had surgery on my liver area, which they removed 3 rather large tumors. And they were successful at doing that, but I do go back in a few weeks for other scans and other treatment options on the ones that are causing the issues. At this time, I have probably 3 brain tumors and about 9 to 10 tumors on my spine, as well as my abdomen, my pelvis area. I had one on my leg that was removed. Please help us raise awareness. If you are unsure about neurofibromatosis, I encourage you to go to the Children's Tumor Foundation website, which is ctf.org, and read the informational packet that they have on their website. Again, my name is Michelle Holberg, and I'm here to fight for NF, and I hope you will too. Thanks so much and have a great day, and we thank you for all of your support. Hi, my name is Michelle.
Well, thank you, Michelle, so much for sharing your story. And Michelle's very involved with CTF and has done so much for us. So I don't know, Michelle, if you want to say a few words to everyone here today.
You know, first, I just want to say thank you. This is a journey, and I'm telling, I can honestly tell you, without the support of CTF and the amount of awareness and research that we have raised for this condition, I don't think we would be as far along as we are. I do want to say, Annette, you have just done an amazing job. All of you, and I just felt like your family, and I'm so thankful that I can pick up the phone and call someone, you know, like Michelle. I mean, she has just become a dear friend of mine because she's always checking in with me and doing certain things. And as a matter of fact, I lost my son in April, and the support that I received from the Children's Tumor Foundation was just unreal. I'm telling you what, it touched my heart. But, you know, we try to raise awareness. I'm in Amelia Island, Florida, and we try to do fundraisers and to raise awareness and to get the word out. And, you know, I feel that we're succeeding at this. And I think, you know, the more people that we make aware of this condition, the more that we are going to be able to have people say, oh my goodness, I never knew this. And I always try to wear my CTF shirt when I'm going out, or my NF shirt. And it was funny, I was in Orlando one day, and I had taken my granddaughter to Disney World, and I had my NF shirt on, and there was a kid that was standing there that was working there, and he goes, oh my goodness, I have NF. And so that's a neat story. And it also happened when we were in Charleston, South Carolina. There was a lady that I met. So it's not just one area. This is a condition that affects us worldwide, and this is something we really need to just find some research on. I am, as my husband says, I'm a pretty tough cookie. I can handle the pain. My concern is the children, my grandchild, having to worry about whether or not she is going to have NF. That really concerns me. So I'm here to fight for everyone. Just like Lily and Rob, your daughter, they are so beautiful. I have a friend of mine here right now, and she had walked down and she was watching both of the stories and she cried. And so that's one more person that we know that we can get involved. And I'm really excited about this hack. The 2020 hack for NF, and I can't thank you guys enough for inviting me to be a part of this.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think, again, we have so many people on this call that are new to CTF and just learning about NF. So we're so grateful to you and to Rob and to the Childers and to Ono coming up for sharing your story. So thank you.
You know, I'm going to say one more thing. Don't ever be afraid. How do I say this? Beauty is inside. And don't ever be afraid to share what you have, to share your story. That gets us one more person involved in helping this fight. And so don't ever be, for those that are new to the Children's Tumor Foundation and those that are new that have just found out they have NF, don't ever be afraid to share your story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Salvo.
Thank you. So inspirational again. Thank you, Michelle, for your testimonial. This is why we're doing this, right? So this is what the difference we're trying to make for people like you and you know, all the others that are suffering from NF. So thank you for sharing your story. So now we can dive a little bit more into the competition. So finally, this is some content that I think you will find very interesting about the event, how this is going to work, providing you with some information about, you know, the hack itself. I have a lot of people on the call that can, you know, will say something, but first of all, an overview of the event and what I actually expect from this event as the organizer. First of all, this is the first time that we try something like this. Normally hackathons are held over a weekend. So these are very high intense challenges that, you know, you lock yourself in a room for 48 hours, think hard about the problem you want to solve, really go back to your code and work out the solution in, let's say, maximum 3 days, right? Instead, COVID, stroke, and we are stuck in our home. So we thought, okay, let's do something virtual. So this is going to be a 6-week event. We're going to start today and we're going to end on November 13 with final submissions. So what can you do? You can definitely start today. Think about different steps that you need to think for your project. First of all, brainstorm and decide what you want to work on. Identify an issue, identify a pain point for all of these patients, or identify a pain point in science. Think about, you know, what kind of analysis I can do if I use all of these data sets, or how can I, you know, help patients have a better quality of life, or how can I help a clinician to navigate, you know, and work with these patients? What do they need? Is there anything that, you know, I can, with technology, can help doing? So brainstorm before you jump into something. Think about it. I mean, take your time. This is the crucial step and most important for the whole event, that you decide what you're working on. And there are different things that we're helping you guys to come up with the right problem, the right idea, the right project. First of all, if you have a doubt, use the platform. So we have a Q&A discussion board on the platform. What you can do is, don't be afraid, share your idea, and everybody on the platform will give you a feedback, or, you know, ask for a specific mentor feedback, or ask for a specific patient feedback on that idea and say, I want to work on this. I think my project could help here and there. And if you ask for feedback, I'm sure you will receive a lot of comments and, you know, telling you if the idea is good or not. Second thing, if you're asking for an expert and see if this idea is really good, then you can, you know, book one of our experts mentor. The mentors are on the platform listed. You can use the book system to basically reserve a one-on-one video conferencing slot of 25 minutes to talk with them. So those are resources that are meant to be for you. So please use it. Read their profile, their description, see if that mentor, that expertise is the right one for your project. And then once you have that idea, that could be even, you know, your own idea, you have no one else on your team, you can start forming a team. You can start drafting a project on the platform, and then you can hire teammates of, see if, you know, highlight the platform highlights how you actually can let all participants know that you are searching for a specific expertise, like, you know, a software developer or user interface expert or things like that. So hire teammates, form a team, and then work together. The other crucial point of hackathons like this is communication. So since you are in different country, you may be in different time zone. This is really challenging. You need to use technology to help, you know, facilitate that communications that normally happens in person during these events. But this time you have 6 weeks where you can plan and work with your team. So I highly recommend that you start scheduling a weekly routine for your team. Let's say, you know, you want to have weekly meetings on a Monday or a Tuesday, and then, you know, check-ins with them, program the work, create an agenda, create a workflow, what you want to accomplish, assign tasks, and also, most importantly, create a team lead. Make sure that you have a leader, that you are the leader, maybe the person who is actually owning the idea is becoming the team lead and kind of supervise the team and is the point of contact and reference for that team.
Salvo, there is one question.
Yes.
They ask is it one person per team, one submission, or can you do multiple submissions?
You can do multiple submissions. You can be part of multiple teams. You can basically, if you have the time to spare, work on multiple projects. So it's up to you. I recommend you to focus on something and put all of your energy there, because you want to get to that prize, right, and win. So we'll look into the quality, not the quantity of one team. And then, as I said, tap into mentors for guidance. Talk to many. Don't be afraid of just talking to one. Talk to many as you need, and allowing for the schedule to happen. And of course, I mean, these are the names of experts. These are the judges that will judge your project at the end. You can realize, I mean, the quality of people we have here. Really, I mean, the experts, world experts of their fields, and those will be names that will evaluate your project on many different scales, and there belongs to many different industries. So not only from the scientific, but also from a social impact, from a technology impact. And we have more names. Actually, this list is incomplete. I will add more names because we have more judges that are available now, and this list will grow. Same thing for our mentors. You will recognize here, of course, the leaders of the fields as well in many different ways. And we have a blend of researchers, clinicians, but also technology experts, and in many different fields, field of genomics, of commercial, business, anything. So check them out on the mentor tab. Look at their description and book them and have a conversation if you need that type of input. Not to be forgotten, patient mentors, they act at the same way. So they're on the platform, and if you need that specific input from them, run your idea by them. Please book them as well. Thank you so much. We have more patients coming in, so those mentors will be updated as soon as we move on. And then our organizing committee, this is the group of people that helped also in 2019. Thank you for coming back and helping and making all of those connections. They are also experts, so they are also mentors. They can act as mentors, and you can book them through the platform as well. And they have a unique expertise as well. So the only thing I want to mention, judges, they're not available for mentoring or for one-on-one. They're more like the observer. They will have access to the projects. They will look through the whole event, and then at the end will judge your project from the outside. So you cannot really use their expertise. And then, last but not least, our supporting team at Be My App. Thank you so much. Lucas, Zach, Luisa, Justin, and Tommy. And Lucas, I know you are on the webinar, so do you have any recommendation or anything you want to highlight in terms of the platform itself, the competition, the hackathon, any technical thing?
Yeah, absolutely, Salvo. Hello, everyone. Like Salvo said, my name is Lucas Boxstead. I'm a project manager at Be My App, and I'm just going to share my screen really quickly to look at the platform. So give me 1 second. Let me make sure I share the right one. So on the platform, the only things that I want to highlight that Salvo just went over, and a few things that Salvo previously went over, but most importantly, using the mentors tab as much as you can. Like Salvo said, this is really an invaluable resource for all of you. So please feel free to book a mentor. As you can see, we have many of our mentors that have their availabilities up, and even more will be provided fairly soon. And it's really easy to do. All you have to do is click book the speaker, choose which time you would like to meet with them. As Salvo said, they're automatically scheduled to go for 25 minutes. So once you book a time with them and confirm, you'll both be notified via email. You'll be able to see in the one-to-one meetings tab that you have a meeting with that mentor. You'll see a little floating 1 above this, just like you see I have right now above talks. Or if you have 2 meetings, it'll be a 2, 3, so on and so forth. So please feel free to use this tab if you want to run your projects by a mentor, get input from a patient, see what they would be looking for in a project. It's really one of your most valuable resources. And of course, at the same time, using the resources tab as well to look at things such as the software licenses that Salvo mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, as well as some of that further information on NF, as well as accessing the data that is provided for the hackathon for you to use in your projects. And the only other thing that I want to really emphasize here on the platform is creating your project as soon as possible. You don't want to leave this till the last minute. You want to really get the basic bare bones of this done as soon as you can, so that you can also look for other folks to join your team. You can, as Salvo said, there's a way in the project section to highlight that you're looking for a team member. So really, it's extremely important that you start on that as soon as possible. So that you can get moving as quick as possible, see what you want to work on, meet with a mentor to see if they have any input on your project, etc. But that being said, I don't want to take too much more time from the webinar, so I'll hand it back over to Salvo. But I will just mention, if at any time you're having issues with the platform, if you're struggling with creating your project and kind of defining what you want to do, please reach out to us, either myself or Zach, who I'm sure you've gotten quite a few emails from. We're here to help you to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. So please, even if you think it's something extremely simple and it's on a Saturday, don't worry about the time zones or times. Please just reach out to us. We're here to help you and make sure that this goes as efficient and smoothly as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, and Lucas, just as a reminder, we are also planning to have 2 team formations webinar. Yes. So for all of you that have no idea how to, work and create a team, we have 2 days. It's going to coming up as, in my next slide, probably at the end. 2 days, different time zones, different time of the day. So we'll allow in the morning or afternoon. Please join us for that webinar on how to form a team. Okay.
And we'll take more questions at the end, correct, Salvo? Because we're getting some questions on the chat, or do you want to answer them, any of these now, or do you want to wait?
Douch and Son about conflict of interest, actually none, because all of the IP or any idea that is coming out from the team, it stays with the team. CTF or Be My App or any of the organizer, we don't claim any of your ideas or IP. So that stays with you guys. You have the power to, create the most of it, even, commercialize your idea if you want. The only thing we're asking is, if there is a commercial opportunity, or if you're looking for a commercial opportunity, of course, we'll allow you for, keeping it private and not to keep it open. But if you are not planning to do it, we need you to be completely transparent and share your code and be open science as, everything that we normally fund. So if you're thinking of commercializing your idea or creating an opportunity for a business, please talk to me, talk to us. We'll find a way to, give you a shot, and we'll work on that too. So I hope that will come out. Okay, so thank you, Be My App. So we also have a Slack channel. Let's make sure that we send, again, the invitation. That's another way to interact with all the mentors.
Great.
Okay, talking about our Friday check-ins and how these 6 weeks are gonna, wind down. We are planning to provide you with some content. So starting from October 9, book your calendar every Friday at 11. If you can join us, it's gonna be a lot of interesting content that we created for you. First of all, October 9, genomic data, use of cloud computing with Ben Busby and DNA Nexus. Ben was going to guide you through a technical webinar on how to use the resources provided by DNA Nexus, plus, answer all of some questions. It's going to be not a webinar, it's going to be a regular Zoom meeting. So you guys have the opportunity to interact with the speaker live, and we'll, an opportunity to check in and see how it's going. October 16, we're going to have a workshop on software. We're still, finalizing the details. So as you know, our presenting sponsor is giving us Prism 8, Genius, and SnapGene free licenses for 3 months for you to use. There's going to be a workshop on the software, how we can basically maximize the capabilities for this highly relevant software for your hackathon, but also for your personal development. October 23, we are in company of Onno Faber, our special guest. He will have guests, he will have a panel discussion. And really related to this, the topic will be how to spin off a healthcare startup. He is a serial entrepreneur. He has started many different companies, and it will have very useful insight for you if this is the path that you actually want to take. October 30, Digital Health with Sage Bionetwork and Dan Webster, principal scientist at Sage Bionetwork, how to develop those apps. Sage has been involved with this with Apple, and their toolkit for a healthcare app. So it's going to be a presentation plus open discussion with him to learn more. Especially if you are in that business of creating healthcare app and you're thinking of a mobile engagement for this hackathon. November 6th, with Maureen Urmil from Weill Cornell and the New York Genome Center. We're talking about sequencing technology, pipelines, and algorithms. So if you are into that, if you want to learn, if you want to learn from the leader of the fields, we're going to have interesting guests for you there lined up. And most interesting, if you actually tune in for these Fridays, for those who will tune in, we'll have nice prizes that are kindly provided by Dale Berg, our invaluable patients and collaborator. So thank you so much, Dale. If you want to know more about these prizes, tune in Friday. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a game, and then you'll be able to get those weekly prizes. So let's move on. And our next mission moment is going to be with my dear friend Onno. And this is a picture we took together at the 2017 Children's Tumor Foundation Gala in New York. We had so much fun. He's one of my best friends. So we have a video, I think, and then we'll exchange a few words. Barb?
Yep, sounds good.
I started my first internet company in high school. I didn't think much of it, and I wanted to learn like a real profession. So I spent 6 years on my architecture study to find myself right after back in entrepreneurship, what I was doing before. And I started having issues with my left ear. It started with a distortion of sound. I woke up in the middle of the night and my ear was rubbing against a pillow, and it sounded like someone scratching their nails on the chalkboard, and it was very scary, like what's going on. I knew something abnormal was happening, and it turned out that I had a tumor on my hearing nerve, vestibular schwannoma, as they call it. Then I got used to that idea, like, okay, I'm going to lose that ear, like it's fine because I have the other one. But they made a follow-up scan half a year later, and they said, oh, we actually found a tumor on your other hearing nerve too, and the one in your spine, and you have this condition called NF2. And I didn't know what it was, of course, but I Googled it, and I saw people can go deaf, blind, and paralyzed. That was a very scary encounter. Just, you think your life is going in a certain direction, and all of a sudden, someone tells you it's not going to be the way you thought it was going to be. But I started doing what I always did, and wondering why there isn't therapy, and wondering what this problem is about, and of course what I could do to help. I found the clinic that removed my tumor in Los Angeles, and I ended up sequencing the tumor with friends here in San Francisco, looking at the data, trying to find drugs that were already on the market for something else. But one thing I encountered is, in the beginning I thought, like, who cares about NF2? Like, it's a rare disease, like, no, hardly anyone has it. People don't care, people are not incentivized. And that was my assumption first. But one thing I learned is that NF2 is just part of a bigger structural problem of rare conditions, rare genetic conditions. And I think the work that's done in one of those tiny little conditions can potentially impact a lot of other conditions as well in the future, if we see the bigger picture of rare genetic disease. And I coincidentally got NF2, but I could have gotten any other rare disease. It's very common. 1 in 10 people have a rare disease, which is hundreds of millions of people worldwide. So it feels like it's a huge potential to solve it and to ultimately, hopefully, decrease the suffering to these medical conditions.
So thank you, Ono. Would you like to just say a few words to the group?
Yeah, I would be very pleased. And well, thanks everyone for being here. And it's really great to see the hackathon like evolving and changing and continuing, and it's really great. I started with the hackathon stuff in 2017, where we organized the first one. I think the first one I actually knew about, but the problem there was that the data that was available was actually just mine, and I wasn't able to really get any other data. There was a little bit, but I think, like, so far, and since CTF, you know, being involved also with the last hackathon, there's been so much more data available, which is a really key aspect of these events. So I'm super happy to see that, and the mentors and everybody that is involved. So that's really great. I've been, you know, quite, I think, fortunate as a patient to get so involved, but I would actually encourage everyone to get involved, even if you don't have a disease. You know, maybe you do it by like joining like a foundation or raising funding, or maybe starting a company. And I just started my second rare disease company, so I'm definitely devoting like the rest of my life to the rare disease problems. You know, so I think the hackathon is a great place to start, and also it is a competition, of course. Like if you participate in a hackathon, you want to win, but also you know, remember that just your participation will help. Regardless, it's really much more about the community and sharing ideas and solving the disease. I think that's pretty clear, like seeing all the stories here. So yeah, thanks everyone again, and super happy to be part of it. The only thing I'm not happy about is that I'm on the organizing committee and I cannot participate this year. But other than that, yeah, I'm super happy to see everybody involved. So looking forward to see the projects come together.
Thank you. Salvo, you want to introduce our next speaker?
Yes. And yes, our next speaker, basically, I need to first make an introduction to 2019. Our gathering in San Francisco was amazing. Had so much fun there. We were at the Google lunch, but this is a picture of, you know, the crowd during the first, you know, Friday afternoon. So sweet to think that, you know, we were sitting next to each other with no issues, and, you know, now we are like confined in our homes, but it is what it is, and we're using technology, but we hope that, you know, we can actually go back to that, environment, because that's where things really happen. And, you know, human interaction, there really needs to be in person. But anyway, what we learned from that experience is that we actually got a few teams that actually perform very, very well. And one of them is Team Dermovids. Team Dermovids actually created this project and a comprehensive research suite for integrated phenotyping, genotyping, and 3D modeling for NF patients. So this was the idea they came up. We have Rachel now on the call, on the webinar. And hi, Rachel, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Hi, Salvo. Hi, guys.
Hi. So, Rachel, thank you first of all for joining. I think your testimony will be key for the participants to say, how do you come up with that? First of all, why did you want to participate? Second, what did you get? How did you come up with this idea? And what did you learn from this experience that could be useful also to other participants?
Yeah, for sure. So why did I want to participate? I think for me, I come from a software engineering background in computers. I'm a computer science student, and I do some part-time research at the School of Medicine at Stanford University. And so for me, I came in from a software engineering perspective, and I came here looking at this hackathon, and I was like, oh, this is so much data, so many cool things. So we attacked it from a different perspective. We really wanted to make some software for patients. We wanted to see how we can make the life for patients easier, the life for researchers easier. And so I think the way we came up with this idea was really trying to think about how we could enhance the way we're collecting data and make it easier for patients to give the data from wherever they are. And especially in a time like this where we're all remote, it makes it so much more relevant. And so that was our main idea behind the app. We really wanted to figure out how we can make the patient's life easier. So we got a chance to talk to a few patients, figure out what the biggest pain points were for patients when they're modeling this data. And then we got a chance to even work with some of the patients, our lab sees at Seren Lab at Stanford. And so that really kind of pushed forward this whole idea. And obviously, everyone on my team, a lot of them were med students, and they had a lot of great ideas on how we could collect data, how we could use the data we're collecting, how we could associate both the genotypic and phenotypic data we're collecting, and it just kind of went from there. So it was a big combination of both, the technical background and the medical background, the research background, all being merged together and creating something super awesome.
So I believe you came with your own team to the event, or did you actually met people there and form a team on the spot?
Yeah, so 3 people from our lab came, and we met a couple other people, and we joined together and made a little bigger team, and it was a great experience. Yes, we met 2 people at the hackathon, and we made a bigger team together.
Yeah. So what is your recommendation to the team? I mean, what is your number one recommendation? The first thing they should get ready for, and done with the team before they actually start to work.
Yeah, I think the biggest part is, figuring out where everyone's skills lie. And I think that's the biggest thing. For us, we didn't even think of this whole software aspect until we realized, we have 2 or 3 technical members on the team, and something like this is achievable. Trying to figure out exactly where everyone's skills lies, where their background lies, what are the tools available to you. Last year we had we had Google Cloud, and we got a chance to talk to the Google Cloud team. That's where our whole idea kind of formed from. And this year there's a lot more tools, a lot of really, really great sponsors, looks like. So being able to get to see the types of tools you have, the type of APIs you have access to, the type of data you have, I think that's all really key. And then getting a chance to meet your team and figure out, what are the skills and what are your people really passionate about, and then trying to, work in something in that area.
So tell us, I mean, where is your project heading? I mean, is there any future there?
Yeah, so Dermaviz it's been quite a year for us. So right after the hackathon, we kind of brought it back to Seren Lab, and we said, how can we get this into production? We really want to see this work, and obviously there's a lot of whole things involved in the whole medical space, so we had to wait a long time for the approval. But in the meantime, we were able to create a replicated web app that we were able to send to patients and send to see, is this idea even plausible? Does this work in practice? Is this actually useful for patients? And we found that it is. It's really useful for patients. It's very easy for us to collect the data and look at the data and analyze it in a different perspective. And so recently, we've gotten the whole approval, right? We've been working on the app nonstop and making updates and stuff. And we recently just got a huge grant from the Google Cloud team, which we were introduced to through the NF Hackathon last year. And we're super excited to work with the Google Cloud team to take this and deploy this app to NF patients and other rare diseases as well, in the dermatology space and all that stuff. So we're really excited. There's definitely a huge feature, and it's all possible through the NF Hackathon last year.
Yeah, that's super cool. I mean, to hear, and we definitely want to know more, because I mean, this is a clear output from last year. So and very inspirational to the other teams. Thank you so much for your testimonial, your participation. I know this year you cannot participate, but we'll definitely look forward, because this is going to become something that we want to do on a yearly basis and involve this community, which I think is so much full of different ideas and resources and approaches. So thank you so much, Rochelle, for sharing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Salvo. I'm super excited to see all the projects people come up with this year. What's the extended time? I'm sure there are going to be some amazing things.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's move on. And this is my last slide. And then I'll take some questions that are on the chat, or you guys see. So these are our next appointments via Zoom. If you want to tune in, everything is normally happening at 11 a.m. East on a Friday from now on. Apart from our team formation meetings, October 6, 11, that's our first team formation. We'll send out a Zoom link, and that Zoom link is going to stay the same probably. You can use the same one for all of this weekly. And then, we'll kick off on October 9 with the first Friday check-in. I said Ben Busby and DNA Nexus workshop. And then we're going to have a second team formation on October 15. And then, we'll go all the way up to November 13. November 13 is the date where you need to wrap it up, at least for your final submission. There are different prize categories. Please review them. You can participate for a team wrap, but you can also submit a 3-month plan. There is a submission criteria to get to that incubation grant, additionally to the price that you actually can get on the regular price. So we'll have on November 13, 11 a.m. final presentation. We'll give you instruction how to do it. Either send us a 3-minute video of your pitch, or you can pitch live during that event on Zoom. And then at that point, our judge will start reviewing all the projects, and will give final winners announcements on November 24. We are planning also a nice wrap up for this event on November 24 with a panel discussion with the judges, some of the mentors, the participants, the organizers, to see what really worked, what didn't. I mean, what are the impressions, how to move forward this event in the future. So winner announcement on November 24, and that's all I have for today. Is there any questions, guys? I'm not following the chat, so if anything that needs to be addressed, happy to do that.
So there is one question, Salvo, if the recording is available.
Yes, the recording is the recording is going to be available on the platform, on the talks. And I urge you to go back to that talk section on the platform to review also the previous 2 webinars, because Lucas and his team actually ran the first webinar on how to use the platform. So there is about an hour, 40 minutes that you can review that content live. I mean, that was done live, but is offline, to understand how everything about the platform, how that works, some of the code of conduct, the official rules, all of those things that you need to know. Plus, we have a second webinar with data, and that was run by Janita from SageMaker Network, that will explain how to access all the data, where it is. So if you have any question, reach out to us, but make sure that you review. If you missed those 2 webinars, please review them. You can review this one as well, together with the others.
There is one question for you from Lars. The current status and usage of the app from the last hackathon.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Also, nice to see you participating in this year, Lars. Yeah. So our app right now is just deployed internally at our lab, and with this partnership with Google Cloud, we're looking to expand it and open up our app for any lab across the world to use and deploy. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have two last minute data sets that were added to the bunch. So we have one data set from Elsevier, the publisher, basically the 2010-2019 literature. This is basically citations of all of the literature with abstract and rich files that you can use for your natural language processing app. This is a collection of about 6,000 different manuscript papers, that talks about NF. Think about how you can use this bunch of literature to maybe, identify the right article to be read for a particular case, or, what is missing, why all of this literature, sometimes, only a few articles really emerge to the top. Is it really the case? Should you read also the articles that are not as cited as they are? I mean, there's a lot to dig into this data set from Elsevier. And we are also very proud to be able to share the NF registry data. So if you go now, they're being added today. Just accept the data use agreement and you'll have access to 9,000 patients' phenotypic data that you can use for your analysis and embed in your solution. So all that said, please go back to the webinar. You will find this data, get access, because some of them require access to be granted to get access. So is any other question?
Although there is maybe one quick thing we want to say, that at the day where the winners are announced, that our friend Dennis from the Life Science Nation will be there. And he has been amazing in connecting young and great ideas to the early investment community. So exactly what Ruji says, right? If your idea is great, you need money to pursue it. And Dennis has offered help in presenting it at the early investor conferences. So I think just want to quickly thank Dennis for his support.
Absolutely, thank you, and thank you to the RACI conference and access to resources. Because as Rachel already got a grant from Google, that's awesome. But I mean, there are so many other angel investors and people that are looking for bright ideas. And we'll learn more from Onno, I think, during one of those Friday check-ins on how to move all that world of venture capitalists and an investor and create this business around one idea. So thank you, Dennis. I know it's a great support and a great resource and great partner.
Sorry, there was just one last question. Lars had a question for Onno. Do you still take iapinib, or did you move on to newer drugs? Do you want to suggest personalized medicine topics for hackathon people to explore?
Yeah, I have moved on to a newer drug because lapatinib at some point stopped working. So this is the general problem. I think I answered some of his questions in the Q&A. General problem with drugs is that at some point the tumors become resistant to them and you have to move to something else. And that's also why there doesn't seem to be one answer. The one answer would be a cure that we of course all hope to get. But adding drugs that work to the mix, I think adds a lot of options for clinicians to tailor like a treatment to a patient and basically extend the time of a good quality of life. And the other thing I would say about this is the side effects are incredibly important with these drugs because NF1, NF2 schwannomatosis, those are chronic conditions. It's not like a cancer that you're trying to fight for 6 months and you're willing to kind of really go deep into the side effects. It's like this drug you have to keep taking. These drugs you have to keep taking. So the side effect profile is extremely important with these drugs as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, maybe one last thing that I want to mention is please go back to the Q&A discussion thread. I've been asking patients, but also our experts, if they have ideas to write them there as proposal also for teams to pick them up and work with them. So if you don't have an idea, go back and refer back to that thread on the Q&A discussion. I know there will be some ideas there coming up, you know, suggested to the teams to work, and maybe you can connect with that idea originator and discuss more about the project and what you can actually do. So, and then the team formation is another opportunity. So I think we are over time. We were booked for 90 minutes, but I think the discussion was so awesome that we are now 7 minutes over. I will ask any other questions later on and post the, you know, the answers if needed on the Q&A thread. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for, you know, taking the time and doing this. It really means a lot for all of us, for all our patient community. Cannot thank you enough. So good luck with the competition, and hopefully we'll be in touch soon. And see you at the winner place.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for your beautiful, incredible stories. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.